Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
Today we're going to cover something on AIB Inbound, which is a kind of uploading process of anything related to learning. If you wanted to upload any instructors, if you wanted to upload courses, if you wanted to enroll any candidates into any course, probably we'll see what are the templates. And what is the process of doing this thing? And hopefully, I think this would be the last session of this learning that I think we should be winning off. You have to know what are the templates available in Workday and learning area especially. If you wanted to know, you need to run that particular template. You need to have proper access. Not sure whether you'll be having integration administrator access, but generally, if you're uploading any kind of learning courses, you need to have integration administrator access. Without that, you'll be not able to launch or view or see anything related to AIB, anything related to template. You should be integration administrator. Then you should be able to have relevant access to run the AIB or to upload the AIB or to view the template of the AIB that you're looking for. Using AIB, we can also update courses. Not only create courses, but if you want to make updations for courses, that also can be done. Yes. Since AI beta uploads and data conversions. Dealing with inbound integration, you need to select inbound. Outbound is nothing, but you'll be selecting data to send outside of a system. That is a little technical. Again, there are a lot of questions when you're sending data out to outbound. Which format, which system and which process, whether it is FTP, whether it is encrypted data, a lot of questions will be there. That is something outside of LMS. And completely I can say SSLT will be coming into picture and format will be coming into picture. Data volume will be coming into picture when it comes outbound. But when you're implementing or when you're dealing with LMS, there are certain templates that are available for learning which will be helpful for data conversion. For learning to upload enrollments, instructors, courses, all those things will be available for inbound. Inbound would be for integration type that you'll be choosing when you wanted to upload data. Whenever you create an AIB, there are 2 stages or 3 stages of not only inbound, but outbound also. There are 3 stages of integration. One is get data. What you're seeing now, the other one is transform data. The other one is deliver the data. Get data, transform data, and deliver data. 3 stages. Get data. Get data is nothing but from where you wanted to get the data. What is the source of the data that you need to give it here? Once you give the source, then transform the data. Transform the data and deliver the data. 3 options you have. Inbound. It is very straightforward because you're doing data approach within your organization and you'll be generating a template and you'll be attaching that template to AI. There's a straightforward, but for outbound there will be a lot of questions. The stages are the same. Get data, transform data, and deliver the data. Get data. What is the source of sending the data to outside of the system? Whether it is a report, whether it is a web service, whether it is something. No, you need to choose and transform the data. What do you want to transform? What the data is, L. In which way that you want to transform? You want to transform into JSON format. You want to transform into XML, Excel, all these things that will be coming to picture. You need to select the transmission type there and deliver where you want to deliver, which system that you want to deliver. You want it to deliver to AWS Amazon Web Service. You want it to deliver to any SFTP. You want to deliver to any kind of Google Cloud Platform kind of deliver systems will be coming for outbound integrations. Inbound, just to know the pretty straight, everything is within Workday only. You will be generating a template, entering the data in the template and attach the template to inbound and run the integration. That's it. What stages in a data? Stages. For 3, I can say get data from where you want to get the data. Here you can see the table method attached file at launch. When you have a template ready with all the data that you have inputted in spreadsheet, you will be attaching that file at launch. This is the only method that we'll be using. Of course, you know you have a lot of retrieval methods, but those are not relevant for this one because this page, whatever you're seeing, the standard template page. The same page is available for outbound. That is the reason why you see a lot of options here. But for inbound, attached file is the only option retrieval method that you will be using. Data format. Here is what you will be specifying what you wanted to load, what template you wanted to generate, and what template that you wanted to use for which data upload. Let's say enrollments. But learning enrollment. But learning enrollment is nothing but which will be enrolling the candidates into learners into that particular course. When you have a bunch of employees who have not enrolled and you wanted to get enrolled them into particular course, you can do this through this template. Automatically, your template transformation model template has got generated. There is no action will be needed for deliver under transformation. Now you have selected your retrieval method and your template that you wanted to use for your data. Now, in order to generate a template, template model generates spreadsheet template. There are two options that you can choose whether you wanted to generate XML template or Excel template. Both will open in Excel only, but you can choose. You have an option XML and Excel template. Once you generate a template, your template will be coming to output files, or you'll be seeing that in your notifications. Here also you'll be getting, and also in the output, also you'll be getting. This is a web service spreadsheet template delivered with the spreadsheet template. You cannot add columns, you cannot remove columns, you cannot enhance the spreadsheet in any way. You need to use what Workday has given. You need to input the data and attach it to your Win. Well, that's it. You cannot customize this template. However you want it to have, but if you enable some custom fields, those should be automatically. No custom fields will not come into this. The custom fields. There is a different option. You need to build a studio through custom web service. There is a different. You cannot upload custom fields or data into custom fields through AIB. You need to develop a studio integration on custom web service. Write a program. I know there is a different kind of development that needs to be involved when you wanted to update data into custom fields. This is something that you get a learning enrollment, and learning enrollment will not have. That's a web service that will not have any kind of custom fields. You need to take all the course information and all. It's one of the forces of my level. And I can give employee of learner. The second row, it says academic. Affiliate ID, that is employed. No, there's a broad. You can just turn this to employed. What if you want to turn this employed? Also, if you get employed, that will take. If you have any kind of restriction date, format is here. The other thing that you wanted to know here is, you also have an option to resign that enrollment through the CIB. Let's say you have enrolled 20 members into one of the courts, and later on, did you think that that's a wrong enrollment other than those 20 members? You should also do. And those 20 members should not get enrolled, but by mistake you have done. And later on, there are two ways that you can return them back from the enrollment. One is through configuration. The same back to see a view, whatever you have loaded, or you have an option to resign with any IBM. Here they have option called resign enrollment, where you can return back that enrollment once you have uploaded the same AIB with all the data. What you need to do? You just need to select why is it which will resign the data from the normal that your enrollment will be returning back or cancelling. I can say will not be available in Workday once you have resigned it. This option is available only for certain AIB templates. Not every AIB template will be seeing the same option. Only for this you have and few others we have, but not for every template you will be seeing this option. When we are updating. For example, I have already enrolled many people using this template to resign enrollment for 1 or 3 individual out of that list. You can also do manually also for 3 members and running an AIB again. Make a template of those things and all. We're in many details. You can also do manually also. Suppose it is more. I want to do it through AIB. Then I have to get the date in properly or when it was really enrolled. Left if you go, there is a date column, I think. Is this mandatory field? No option, but you need to have enrollment date. No, when work date has to show when the employee has got enrolled. You need to be there. It should be reached. A date means when the employee is getting enrolled into the course and all, even when you're doing manually. Also, you'll have to input the state and through AIB also will be inputting this. Though this is not option, but it's a kind of required data that has to be there for enrollment. For a few columns, you'll be seeing IDs learning time ID. You'll be seeing not only for this template but almost all the AIBs. Some data will be asking based on IDs. How you can identify those IDs in Workplace? Those are called reference IDs. I'm not sure whether this will be having an attendance ID or not, but I will see. Once you create an AIB, for the AIB to here in this list, do we need to do anything? Which list? The drop down which you are seeing. This is not AB, this is a reference IDs. AB, how come AB will become whatever data that you create in Workday? I said that will be stored in Workday as a kind of object. When you store any data as a kind of object, Workday automatically generates ID for that one. Remember I told you when I was telling something about media, the moment you load media in Workday Drive or anything ID will be generated. When you're creating an NAB and if the system is asking you ID for that one, you need to get that ID, let's say employee. Once employee profile is created, employee will be automatically generated and you need to take that employee. Similarly, if you have course created in Workday, you will be having a course ID generated. If you're creating any kind of plan and plan ID will be generated. Anything that you get into Workday will be generated with the ID. And here most of AIBs will be asking you that ID. You know that ID that will recognize that data object. To insert data into that table object, I can say, if you get that ID from your reference ID, you'll be able to see your data. Whatever you're inputting in a template will be getting into that business object and will be storing data there. That's important for you to identify which reference ID that you wanted to choose for which category. There are a few optional fields that are not required but that can be ignored. But there are a few fields that are required, wherein that reference ID should be required. Let's say now your course is there. Now if I select learning course ID, this is required now. Now I've taken learning course and I've given learning course name. But what if I wanted to have learning course ID? What you can do is you can use this thing. You have reference ID. You can pick this reference ID and update it here when you select your course ID. That whenever you are enrolling any candidate into this learning course ID, it will identify that learning course ID is for code of conduct. Not only this AIB app, related to learning, related to recruiting, related to HR, related to any of the AIB that are available in Workday, will be associated with the reference IDs. To identify reference, you need to choose your reference ID and what data that you are wanting for reference ID. You need to pick that one and have a reference ID in your AIB template. You will be giving all the required input. If there is an expiration date for the enrollment, it will be given. And attendance duration. Is that in minutes or hours? This should be in hours. How do we know more information if we want to know? You need to upload and see how it is coming. That is the only option. There is no description. That worked as given here in the template. You need to upload and see what it is giving. What kind of category that it is taking. There is nothing much in this enrollment template. You need to give The mandatory thing is learning, course information and the employee ID. This does most of the job. And the rest of the things are all optional. One registered date and learning grade and expiration date are options. If you take learning course ID and employee ID and spreadsheet key, that's enough to enroll any candidate into learning course. And also, if you have multiple, you can just go in a sequence 1, 2, 3, 4 thing kind of. You can maintain a sequence to input the data. To run the type, is that since you are learning administrator and since the user that I'm using is a learning administrator and does have access to all the learning elements. That is the reason why I'm seeing this option integration. Since this is also a kind of implementer user, obviously by default this implementer is a kind of integration administrator. That is the reason why you're also seeing this option. But if you're looking for a customer and you're just a learning administrator, but does not mean that your integration administrator, general learning administrator, will not do this or these things. These are kind of technical thing. Either business people will be doing or work that you will be doing. They'll just give list of courses that has to be uploaded into Workday and the integration team will be doing this job. Learning administrator will not have this kind of access. For learning administrator, integration administrator access will not be granted. And something I know who are doing configurations within learning. Business team will be doing our technical team. You know who owns integrations in Workday. They were doing this, but not the business team will be aware of this. All I want to tell is if you have access to that particular web service, then only you will be getting option to run this integration. Or else you'll be not seeing this option if you don't have access to that one. Whenever you're running the IV and whenever you're not seeing this integration option, it means that you don't have access to that particular service and you need to be added to the security list of that particular web service. This is one option that we have selected when we have created AIB. Attach file at launch is the option that we have selected, retrieval method. And that is the reason why we were able to select this option and attach the template that we've created. And options in any all in it. Also be aware of the option that you're seeing here, which will be helpful when you're working for your organization. If you wanted to control the diverse or if you wanted to get all the errors, obviously you'll be going for unlimited. But if you're selecting 10 is a kind of load element. Its limits for 10 others and it will stop executing. For the 10 rows, let's say if 10 errors have occurred in first 10 rows, it will stop and it will not proceed further. And when the moment 10 errors arise, we will stop processing and it will fail. The 11th row, it will not look for 11th row. It will stop at 10th row because the 10th row has a 10 error. It is limiting that 10 error and it will be stopping. But if you're giving unlimited, unlimited means any number of errors that file has, execute and show me all those errors. It means that. But if you are giving a specific number, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, those that many specific errors for a template has, it will identify and it will stop processing and it will fail from there. This is one option, but the recommended thing option is unlimited only because we don't want to limit that to 1 or 2 or 5 or something. If you have unlimited, it will be executing all the rows in all the ways and give you the number of errors that it has when you select unlimited. Validate only mode. Validate only mode is the best option for you to test the AIB whether it has errors or whether it has. Whether it does not have any errors. It will let you test that one when you select this. Validate only load option. You're not loading the data into it, but you are testing the template for any kind of data errors or format errors. When you select only validate, only load option, your AIB template will be tested with all the data, is correct or not. Once you ensure that every I know there is no errors, you can uncheck this one and click on and run the CIB. That data will be loading. When you select this option, even if there are no errors and if you are running the CIB, data will not be loaded into work because that is just validating your load. Validating your data for any kind of errors, for any kind of issues that the template might have. That will validate the template. That's it. When you uncheck this one and run the AIB, then only your data that is there in a spreadsheet template will be loaded into Workday. This is one of the important options that you need to know when you're testing the AIB, and similarly. And it will show attachment. If you wanted to have those errors to be attached to the integration, you can select this option. If there are any errors, that will come as another column. Yes, a spreadsheet will be generated. A spreadsheet will be generated with all the errors to the integration. You'll be seeing Excel sheet with all the errors. If you are not selecting this one, that Excel sheet will not be attached to AIB. You'll be getting a failure message, and there will be HTML page. That will be enough. We'll see how it works. I'll select all these options. Obviously, it will fail because there are no. We have not taken employee. We're just testing this one. Obviously, we'll see failure. Since we are running in validation mode, it will not get into Workday. We'll just test the template. You see number of errors. Now you see one attachment also you'll be seeing here because we have selected that option. Original data with errors. You'll be seeing Excel sheet with all the errors. And also you'll be seeing HTML page with all the errors. This by default will be coming. Even if you won't select attach data errors, you'll be getting this option, this thing. But if you wanted to have in a spreadsheet format with all the errors, you need to select that attached data errors to the integration that you'll be getting. this one. Now if you go to HTML, invalid employee. And the grade is not thing. It's correct. And whether it will work or not, we don't know. What are the employees? Are they here? Let's see. I understood. Let's remove this one. No, we are going ahead and marking completion. You through AIB enrolling the candidate into, because you're also giving pass grade, you're also marking completion rate. I remove now. Since the system was not accepting, I removed that one. Because that was not a valid input, it was restricting that one. I removed that one. Let's see manually we will enable to enroll. Let's see if we will do that job. That's how we know you will be the same process will be adapting or implementing for all of the AIBs as well. Only the difference is knowing the data that you wanted to do that. A few more hours. Not sure what are the others. Let's see. Like that. You'll be getting errors and you need to troubleshoot based on your configuration or something. You know any kind of valid data or not. You need to fix that data. If there is an issue with the data, you need to correct that data. Have a valid data. But if there is an issue with the formatting or template or something, you need to fix that data format. Let's say, if you have downloaded this template last year or before last year and you have kept it. And now today, if you're uploading that using the template to do enrollment, and what they would have done, some patchworks are upgraded. The template would have added additional columns. Then there will be an error. This spreadsheet template has less columns, but current version of spreadsheet template has too many columns. Please regenerate the spreadsheet template again and load the data kind of error message that you'll be getting in case if you're using the previous version of spreadsheet template. How to get the new version of spreadsheet template? When you get that error again, generate this. We have generated a spreadsheet template. Same way, you have to generate again. How we have generated the spreadsheet template? The same way, you need to generate a spreadsheet template again. These are the rest that we got. I think we have also selected the same options, which should not select the same option. We have selected the same option. All these things will be there. It should not be because we have not enrolled at least straight, to which we wouldn't be selecting. This is enrolled, the same enrollment. Specify time unit, attendance duration greater than 0. We select anything. You got the process. The same process you need to implement, for you have a lot of EAVs here. If you go to see this thing, you wanted to view the template. Only option is you need to go into that particular section. Come to data format. You can just enter learning. That city will be getting all the terms that are available for learning. You need to know which you need to use for which purpose. Now we have used learning enrollment and learning and performing this one. Now, if you want to cancel, you also have cancelled learning enrollment. And if you wanted to load courses, they have managed course template where you need to learning course, to pick this one and enter the course and course description, all this information, and I need to enter and load the course into it. And there is one more template if you're doing any kind of implementation. Put learning imported content. We're not doing some implementation. Let's say your legacy system has around 10 years of historic data for compliance courses. Let's say code of conduct and sexual harassment and anti-corruption are the compliance course. Completions for all the employees in success factors for the last 10 years. Now, when you are moving to work, they need to upload all those historic content. You will not be creating course, you will not be creating and you will not be enrolling the course, and you will not be manually mark them as complete because those are not. You know upcoming courses where no candidate has to go and take. These are already completed courses, historical completed courses. You just need to have that in your Workday for tracking purpose, for report generating. You need to have those completions. What you need to do is you need to first load that content. Load those 3 contents and will you know? Anti-corruption policy, code of conduct and sexual harassment code. Load these 3 first. Load these 3 content into Workday Throughput Learning Imported Content. Once you load, then you'll be marking, you'll be uploading employees into that course and mark them as a complete. There's an EIB gain enough for that one unit to choose that EIB to mark them, to load that historical content of employees into work that you will be able to see. Once you have all that information, where you will see that information is. Everything in employee profile you'll be seeing once you load that information. Now you're clear a way to generate spreadsheet template and how you'll be generating spreadsheet template. You are clear. Once you upload that information, you'll be going into employee careers. And you'll be having the option called learning here. There will be one item called learning. Once you select that learning, all the completions, all the in progress, one will be coming to that learning category. That's where learning section in Workdays. If you wanted to track any completions for a few employees other than doing a report part, you can come into this area and track that completions by getting into employee profile that you'll be doing. And the next part that you need to remember when you're working with the EIB is security. Make sure that you are integration administrator to handle EIBs in Workday. If you wanted to know whether you have access to that particular EIB or you're able to create an EIB but you are not able to run the EB, which means that you don't have access to that spreadsheet template. How do you know what security that you need to grant to that particular pieces? Just access the task called View Security. First securable item. Let's say put learning enrollment. I don't have an option put learning enrollment. I'll just give this. Who have access to implementation and core. These are the functional areas you need to be granted with access. Now which domain should be assigned to that security group? This is the domain that needs to be assigned. You need to go into that particular domain and assign security for your user. In that way, you'll be able to identify what security piece is missing and where that need to be granted kind of information. You'll be seeing this one. If you're dealing with the EIBs, you need to attach integration administrator to this thing. Since the user that I'm currently using is implementation implementer, the implementer will obviously have all the access. But what if implementer is not the case, and for just an employee or just customer resource? You need to have the proper security assigned to that service. That's all with AIB. You need to first know what template needs to be handled. There is no kind of scripting work, is there? There is no kind of any other critical work, is there? Only thing is you need to know how to generate template, which template has to be used for which purpose, and how to input the data into the template. Valid the data, valid data. And you have seen now we have selected the same option for a course that has not been enrolled, where another data error has been triggered. Employee was not valid and learning course. You know it was populating that. You know offering has to be there. All those things has to be considered. And when you have completed a proper data and AIB will help a lot to do mass upload. You can enroll 1 or 2 employees manually, but you cannot enroll hundreds of employees. That's where an AIB comes into picture. And I know does mass activities and will less down your efforts and will be completing data upload in short span of time. But only thing is, you also need to spend time, for data entry into the spreadsheet template. And that is one thing. Basically what will generally integration administrator will not do the data entry. Whoever asked them, let's say in the learning business wanted to load 100 courses. 400, what we'll do is we'll generate a template. This is what the template will look like. This is one runner will be adding a kind of sample data, and you can consider that as an example and input the data in the same format for all of the courses. This will be giving the template to learning administrator or business know who takes care of those courses. And once they respond to that one, it's integration administrator responsibility to upload the data, to fix any errors, to troubleshoot the data. If there are any issues with the data, we'll consult that concerned person who has given the data that these values are invalid. I know if this can be changed, we can. We should be able to load the data kind of information we'll share, and we'll be taking care of that integration upload. This is hard-coded template. Let me take log on my nails. Here integration IDs. This is what they did. And this is a reference which is nothing but an employee. For all other references, it is also. You'll be seeing the same. If you are getting Workday and if you wanted to go with Workday, you can select this one. And the front side A, you can select this one. That's it. I've been one, and the template you need to make sure that which template that you need to select for which purpose. That is one thing. I'll just show you an outbound setting also. There is also straightforward, but I'll not get into much detail in the transformation because transformation takes you other technical things also. I'll just show the process of creating outbound also. As I said, even outbound also will be having same kind of 3 stages: get data, transformation, and deliver. Get data. What is the source of your data? From where you wanted to pick the data? There are 2 types of data sources. One is custom report. The other one is web service. Yesterday I was telling you, if you make your report as a web service enabled, that integration will be able to identify your report. If you wanted to have your custom report to be attached to AIB, you need to ensure that your custom report is web service enabled. Yesterday we have created one report. Learning, just take one report, MS Learning Report. We'll take this one. Type as sorry, I didn't get custom report and what else? Web service. Web service in a Workday has some kind of delivered web services, get workers and put workers kind of things. You have. You can get the data from that web service also. But mostly, for that kind of web service related thing, developers will not go with AIB, will go with Studio integration. Mostly A, B or bond integrations will perform where the data source is custom report, because if you select a web service here, I don't think anything will be coming here. We'd get you complete information. Let's say get workers is there. Get work is a kind of web service. If I select get workers web service, it will have complete worker information, worker employee employment information, contact information and anything. Complete information of an employee. Get workers web service. But your vendor will be asking, I don't want it to have all the data. I wanted to have employees, manager, employee, SEN, employee, contact employee, mobile, some kind of, defined information that vendor will be asking. We can go with get workers web service from AIB because you cannot attach a script. You know that you wanted to pick the data. Studio will be kind of relevant integration. I know if you wanted to pick relevant fields from get workers web service, there will be writing XML script and pick the data, filter the data, but in AIB you don't have that option. That is the reason why mostly if you wanted to generate complete data, web service is a kind of, one thing that you can choose. But custom service, custom report is a kind of, source where most of the AIBs will be used for. 98% or 100% I can say, because in my 6.5 years of experience into Workday as a kind of developer, I never used web service as a kind of, data source for the AIB integration. I'm complete custom report because customer report is nothing. But whatever you want, you'll be creating a report. Whatever information that you wanted to have in the report will be giving. And that information, if you wanted to send to any external vendor, you'll be sending, which will be having limited information, required information, and will not be having unnecessary information. Like, if you go to get workers web service, you'll be having a lot of things, suffix. You'll be having prefix, you'll be having and miss. All this kind of, unwanted things. Legal name title you'll be having. All these things you'll be not able to restrict with the AIB. You'll be not able to filter with the AIB because that is a delivered data that Workday is giving. And you need to, if you're selecting that one, all the data will be coming in your output. But customer report, whatever you want, you selected those fields and they're attaching that report to your AIB. Make sure that whenever you're asked to create an AIB outbound, which means that you need to have a custom report in the background, and the custom report should be web service enabled, which can be attached to your AIB. That means that when we are creating this outbound AIB, that means that this content of this AIB is going to an external source. Yes, external source. Even in some organizations will be having internal data management thing. Let's say your employee information is there. If you know what they're storing, all the H, R and from employee information. There will be data management team or Active Directory team who creates accounts for external application. Let's say if you're into Workday with core HR and you have time and attendance in different system. Your data management team take employee data into different system, and from therein it will be dumping into the time and attendance system that the employee will be having access to the time and attendance system to log the time and all. It depends upon, organization to organization. Mostly for external systems only, because if you wanted to send data to outside of the system, EIB and Studio are most preferred integration types. The first mostly integration type that is used in Workday's EIB. 80% of your integrations will be developed through EIB outbound. If you are dealing with any external system, EIB outbound is a kind of preferred one, and also internal team also. Internal team within your organization. If there is any different system that you wanted to update HR data, you can also use in that way also. But that is also a kind of external system only. We can consider that an external system only, but within your organization. We're selecting a custom report as a kind of source, and then we'll be going into transform. Here accessibility comes into picture. There are types of transformation: custom transformation, custom report transformation. Custom transformation is nothing, but you need to give the accessibility whatever you have written. You need to select that accessibility whatever you have created. Yesterday I've shown you create accessibility, task is there. Once you use the task and create an accessibility, that will be creating accessibility, and that accessibility needs to be called here. There you'll be selecting custom transformation, whichever custom report transformation where you do not require any kind of accessibility. That will be formatting enough with the delivered option. It will be not writing any accessibility with custom report transformation. You can just, select the format that you wanted to have and send it. But custom transformation, you need to have your accessibility to be attached. And delivered. Delivered is nothing but where you wanted to deliver the file. You have a lot of options here: Amazon Storage Email, FPs, FTP or HTTP protocol. You have a lot of, delivered services here. You can pick any of the service where you wanted to deliver your file, and accordingly, you can send it to that particular system. When you're testing, you'll be doing Workday attachment that you know. Your output file will be within your Workday. But if you wanted to send any external system, you will be sending these options. Suppose if you say SFTP, it will be Pro. You need to provide all the SFTP related information: SFTP address, SFTP directory, SFTP username, password, all those things in it, in that location and in that activity. It's not necessarily. This file will be placed in the SFTP. It's not limited to Workday. It can be any SFTP, any valid SFTP. And let's say if you're sending to external vendor, vendor has to give you a username and password for that SFTP. And they have to provide you username and password, which you'll be using here. And your AIB will be accepting that one and will be sent to that particular system. That is about delivery. Once you have that, you need to give. Default output format is XML. We need to give XML extension. They should have set prompts for reported completion, status, and work. That is the reason why it is asking here. If this is not required, you can also keep it empty. But since you have given in that prompts will be also coming up in AIB. It is not the way to select employees, but just I am showing the terminated employees have selected. The terminated employees should not be selected. Also employees, prompt should not be there. But yesterday, since we were seeing how prompts can be configured, we have configured those prompts. But generally when you're sending them, there shouldn't be any kind of employee prompts until and unless it is a business case. Now this is completed. I don't know what data will be generated. We'll see. Nothing has got generated and got blank something. I know that I don't think the terminated employees are returning in the report. That is the reason why is written empty data. But this is XML format. You'll be seeing all the data in XML format, and to avoid this format, a lot of vendors will be asking. We don't want it to have XML for XML. We want it to have Excel CSV or text to transform this XM to those formats. We'll be writing accessibility, or we'll be using customer report transmission option. That is about overall EBIB. That is also straightforward. Only thing is that you should be going to keep on notice custom transformation. When you wanted to deal integration with custom transformation, you need to know how to manage accessibility. That is about EIB outbound, but the rest of the other things are straightforward. And now coming to calculated fields. Calculated fields are built on existing data. Data that is sitting in Workday. If you wanted to change something on existing data, if you wanted to tweak the data that is sitting in Workday, that's where no calculated field comes into picture. Let's say you have a first name, you have a last name, and you have your employee. Some vendors will be asking concatenation of employee ID, and your first name will be asking send me kind of employee ID plus employee first name and kind of single column. They'll be asking, and I know some vendors will be asking. We wanted to have employee name completely in a case kind of thing. All this kind of data tweaks. Vendors will be asking and different. Yesterday we have seen we tried the primary business object related business object concept. If data is sitting in related business object, and if you wanted to pull that into primary business object, all those things can be done through calculated fields. Calculated fields are nothing but data which are used for data formatting, data optimization, data filtering, data for any kind of optimizations that can be done through calculated field. And calculated fields are not created on new fields. We are not creating new fields. We are creating calculated fields on the fields that Workday has provided. We are creating, kind of validations. Let's say if you wanted to have your report to be populated when employee is terminated, you wanted to show your report as a terminator. When employee is active, it has to be sure. It has to be a kind of active when employee is on leave. It has to be on leave in a single column. You'll be evaluating or you'll be writing a condition there when employee is terminated. get me terminated value when employee is active to get me activated value. Active value when employee is only on leave value. These three kind of conditions. You'll be writing all those conditions you can do in a calculated field. Whenever you're dealing with complex integrations or whenever your accessibility is in picture, most of the stuff you can manage within report through calculated field. And you can just write a simple accessibility formatting. Even accessibility in any programming code will have the same functions whatever in a calculated field have. You see here, there are a lot of functions in the book that's given. All these functions you can see any programming language. You can use arithmetic calculation. You can use an arithmetic in programming and concatenation matching the text values. You can use this thing and converting the currency date, constant date difference. All these things you'll be having in any of the programming language. But it's worked as a given you a kind of flexibility without getting into the program. You can manage within report with the calculated field. However you wanted to tweak the data, you can use. We have around 30 to 32 functions that we have in Workday or calculated fields. Each one has its own defined use purpose. Now when I just walk through and all the thing, probably not creating everyone, but I'll be giving you a kind of glimpse on what each one does, and we'll see. I'll show how to create a calculated fields aggregate related instance. Aggregate related instance is nothing but which will be aggregating the values numeric value. Let's say compensation. History is there. You are creating a report with compensation information and you have been asked. You wanted to have a total value of all the company. Let's say 100 employees are there. 100 employees will be having their compensation in the spreadsheet, in the output file. Now we have been asked if you wanted to have the total value of the compensation for all the 100 employees. What you'll be doing? You'll be aggregating the related instance, aggregating that instance and giving a kind of one single value. Let's say 10,000, 30,000 thousand kind of values will be there for the employee. And we'll be creating one more column called aggregate related instance, which will be aggregating all the compensation components and giving a kind of single value. Or another example is employees getting a lot of compensation components in his compensation. One is joining bonus. One is, the base salary. One is performance review, compensation award and leave carry forward. The living cashman cash, all these things will be used and we are compensating. And ask you, I wanted to know what employee is getting as a kind of compensation. I wanted to have a total figure, they'll be asking you. You'll be aggregating all these related instances, ball, bowlers, joining bowlers, base salary. All the components will be aggregating into a single instance and you'll be getting a one single value. For that kind of requirements, we'll be using a great related instance. Arithmetic calculation. Arithmetic calculation is nothing but performing mathematical operations. If you wanted to sum anything, if you wanted to subtract anything, if you wanted to multiply anything, you'll be using arithmetic calculations. This is very simple one, straightforward. You just need to pick. Let's say if you wanted to, calculate. The 10% of base salary is a kind of bonus that we are giving for an employee this year. What you'll be doing is you'll be creating a calculated field with arithmetic calculation field. You'll be selecting a base salary and a 10%. I know you'll be doing percentage of that base salary and you'll be getting that 10% amount which will be reported as that salary review for that employee. And you'll be sending this information to compensation team and compensation team. We'll be considering that 10% of each employee as a kind of salary review. They'll be preparing their compensation sheet and they'll be giving you that information as part of annual review and build a date. If you wanted to build any constant dates, if you wanted to build, let's say, a date of birth is there. If you wanted to build, any specific date based on date of birth, based on day of the date of birth, the month of the date of birth, year of the date of birth. If you wanted to build any new date, this is the function that you'll be using. Mostly, when I'm playing around with the date format or date required, external vendors will be asking some specific format. They wanted to have Monday, year in different columns. When you have that kind of requirement, you'll be using build date thing. Hire date. Let's say if they're asking hire date of day should be in one column, month should be in one column, year should be in one column. They are asking, and you'll be selecting build date function, and you'll be selecting month from hire date, month from the day from hire date, year from hire date. You'll be selecting and you'll be populating that in 3 different columns. And concatenation text. Concatenate, in the name itself, concatenates text values. Let's say first name and last name is it. You wanted to concatenate first name and last name into a single column. You'll be using this function to concatenate first name and last name. Convert currency. If you wanted to convert currency from one currency to another, I've not used this anytime because we have a currency converter configuration. We'll be using that one. I never got a chance to use a convert currency option, but convert currency will be used to convert currency from one value to another value that you can choose. We also have a delivered configuration that Workday provides currency converter. You can use that one, or if you're not, if you don't have that setting in your Workday and reporting. If you wanted to manage, you can use this convert currency. And if you wanted to convert any text value to number, this is what this function will be doing. Sometimes your vendor, let's say employee. Some organization will be creating employee in text columns and text value. And some vendors will be accepting employee only in number format. Or in that case, what you will be doing, it will be converting that employee into number format, and that field type will be changed to number. And then that employee, that extension system will be able to accept that. Count related instance. This is also similar to aggregate related instance only, but it will be giving count. Let's say 5 compensation components are there. We're running your counting, joining bonus and base salary, compensation review amount, sign-on bonus and retention. Retention bonus, kind of 5 elements are there. Now we know compensation team wanted to know. I wanted to know total count of the instances that employee has. This count related is what it will be counting. That related, it will be giving 5 as a kind of count related instance number. It will be count related instance, counts the related instance, and it gives the number. Date constant, and the name itself say that if you are sending in a report to an external vendor. An external vendor has some specific data that they wanted to have. Let's say coverage begin date. Irrespective of data that is sitting in work that they will be asking you, I wanted to have the file to completely show 1/1/2022 as a kind of date for all the employees. The kind of coverage begin date they are asking. What you'll be doing is you'll be selecting a date constant with 1/1/2022 as a kind of value, and you'll be sending it to external vendor. Date difference. The difference is nothing. But again, if you are wanting to hire, if you wanted to have any kind of date difference from one date to another date. If you wanted to have a value that needs to be inserted, increment date, decrement date kind of thing, you'll be using the date difference. That kind of value, if you wanted to get in a report, It will be using date difference and evaluate expression. Evaluate expression is something that I told you. Evaluate conditions. If employee is active, it has to be returned as a kind of value called active termination. Termination only when a single column will be writing. It will be creating multiple calculated fields here. Evaluate expression is a kind of mostly used and powerful kind of function. I can say you evaluate expression because they're picking the complete data here complete and you're inserting a value here. When employees are active, you need to want it to have active. When employees terminated, you need to have a terminated value. You need to know when employee is only that value. All these three values are getting in a single column. You'll be playing around with that one and you'll be getting those values in a single column, active, terminated and leave. And this employee expression band is also similar to evaluation expression only, but it will. This will take all the text values. It will take in a few non-text values. There is only difference, but the job is same. Whatever this thing is doing, you will be doing the same thing, and extract multi-instance that extracts single ends are also important and mostly used functions in Workday. Powerful and all the complex reporting, complex integrations will be developed through these two calculated fields, extract multi-instance and extract single instance. Example is, let's say, multi-instance. In Workday, we have field types called multi-instance, single instance. Gender is a kind of multi-instance. The reason why we have multiple values here, male, female, kind of multiple values we have, and that field is called a kind of multi-instance field, and single instance with single instance field, employee name, employee ID is a kind of single because only single value sitting in that field type. Those are called single instance and multi-instance, in other words, which will be holding multiple values in a single column. Gender is one example, and employee type, full-time, part-time is one example, and worker type, contractor employees, one type of multi-instance field. Those are called multi-instance. And if you wanted to build a calculator, build any kind of calculation through that multi-instance field, you will be using extract multi-instance field. And if you are building any calculation on extract single instance values will be building a single instance. Let's say yesterday, we have seen multiple related business object. Learning enrollment is one related business object of worker. And if you wanted to return any kind of value from learning enrollments to worker business object, what you'll be doing? If there is a kind of single instance or multi-instance, you'll be creating that calculated field in a single instance. And there is one more function in which transforms from one business object to other business object, which is lookup related value. Lookup related value is also a kind of important function which gets value from one object, one primary business object or related business object, or from related business object to primary business object. Lookup related value is a kind of function that you'll be using for moving object from parent to child and child to parent data that you'll be dealing with. And when you're dealing with extract single instance, this lookup also will be coming into picture. If you have a requirement to get data from one object another object, first you need to extract that single instance and then use that value in lookup. And lookup can be used in your reporting to get value from primary business object to secondary business object. Format date. Format date name itself says that when you wanted to format date MDDYY or YDIDDDMM, IYs, such kind of formatting requirements, when you'll be choosing formatting data options and format number. You know how you wanted to format number, whether it is, let's say, amount is that $10. Amount is that if you wanted to pop a decimal value to the number, or 3 decimal values, 2 decimal values or percentage, anything that you wanted to have, you can format that number in a way that you wanted to have. Format text. Format text is nothing. But as I said, there are 3 ways that you can format, as one is making text value to uppercase, making a text value into lowercase, making text value into that is one more format, a proper case, proper case. You know there are 3 kind of formats that we have in Workday. You can format in any of those 3. Let's say employee name is there, and if you wanted to populate employee into uppercase or lowercase or proper case, you can use this function to do that job. Increment or decrement, which is similar to, date building, date function, which deals with the date, and all the lookup functions, whatever you're seeing here. All are performed the same job, but each one will be doing its own category. Let's say lookup related value. I said it will be getting values from related business object to primary business object. And you have lookup organization. It will be getting organization value from one organization hierarchy to other organization. And there is one more. Lookup field with problems, lookup hierarchy, lookup hierarchy. All these things will be doing the same job. But only thing is, hierarchies. When you are dealing with hierarchies, you go with the lookup hierarchy. When you are dealing with the business object related things, you go with a lookup related value, and when you're dealing with organization roles, you'll be going with organization roles. But the function and the objective output of all this lookup is same. All will be doing the same job, but only thing is data collection is different. One will be looking for a primary business object, related business object. One will be looking for different organizations. One will be looking for different hierarchies. That is the only difference. But output will be common. The way that you use is common for all lookup related things. And this is also lookup related value. Also is a powerful, mostly used function in Workday. A numeric constant is same date constant. As I said, rate that constant date value. Similarly, if you wanted to have a constant value in your report with the numeric value, you'll be giving that one and prompt for a value from value. For the value is nothing, but you know which will be prompting for a value, as how we have seen in report. But most of when you're giving prompts in your report, you'll be not using this calculated field. And because you have an option to do prompts in reporting only, but not in calculated field. But if there is any requirement that you wanted to bypass report prompts and wanted to use calculated field with prompt, you can use this one. But mostly recommended one is have report prompts instead of this one, because Workday recommends not to use as many as calculated fields, which reduces student performance. When there are other options, you know that you can choose while creating report. You can choose those things instead of creating calculated field for a very simple purpose. Substring text. Substring text is nothing but breaks the text value. Let's say I met Kumar. Is that now you wanted to have the first character in first name or last character in last name? That kind of, characters that you wanted to have, that thing. You'll be able to do with substring. You'll be giving the length of the name, and from there you wanted to break the value. We'll be giving forward direction or backward direction. You'll be giving and you'll be picking that text value from there. And substring can be done only on text values, not numeric. If you wanted to do substring on numeric, what you'll be doing, convert the numeric value to text and do substring for that value. And some related instance. This is also like aggregate and count related, but it will be summing up like aggregate related instance only. it will be summing up and it will be giving the sum value of related instance. Example, the same you can consider which is set for aggregate relation. The sum of multiple compensation instances can be categorized and can be returned as a kind of sum value for all the related instances in reporting. When you have such kind of requirement, let's say bonus is there. Bonus is sitting in different business object, but you wanted to have your report is sitting in a worker business object. What you'll do, you'll create that bonus value, where that bonus will be sitting in compensation earnings rate. Earning is nothing but bonus is nothing but what you're getting. It's nothing but your earning. And tax nothing but your, which is going out from it, which is deduction. We have two components involved, earning and deduction. Bonus will be coming in earnings and you will be setting up what kind of bonus, whether it is joining bonus, whether it is retention bonus, whether it is performance bonus. You will be selecting that one and some relatedness will be picking up values from different related instance. That will be because some this bonus, whatever I was saying, it is sitting in earning business object or bonus business object. Now that will be calling into worker, and when you are creating character, field and worker, you will be choosing a function called some related instance. And that will ask you what is the related instance what is the related object field that you wanted to do. You will be selecting bonus as a kind of related instance and you will be creating some related instance. It will be picking all the bonus amount that you got in that category and it will be showing in worker business. Mostly you know it is similar to the other instance and contrary intentions and lookup. Getting a value that is sitting in different related instance and showing in different reporting different business object. The other two text constant and text and are very basic things. And if you wanted to probability text value, you will be doing that one. If you wanted to give any kind of specific text length, you know you'll be inserting the text and that's it. These are all the functions which we'll be using according to your business requirement. If you're not good at programming, if you're not good at writing any kind of scripting, that is good. You know, not everyone is a kind of technical guy, but both has a given kind of option for functional consultant to create reports and to define, some kind of functions. It does not require any kind of scripting knowledge, just a kind of single click. Any calculated field that you have seen here, you'll be not writing any kind of, at least 0.1% of expressions here. Everything will go with most click only. I'll just create one simple calculated field, or let me see if there is any report that I can use to create one calculated field and show how to create them. What is the difference between single instance, multi-instance? Single instance, separate multi-instance is nothing but which will be storing multiple values in it. Gender. When you use gender as a kind of field in your report, what it will be returning? It will be a different values on the like. For example, if you say employee status, that also will be multiple value. But the value will be no employee ID. Let's say employee ID will be having only one employee for an employee. Gender is a value. When you select gender, it will be having multiple values in it. Multiple values, male and female, and according to employee category, it will be showing as a male for an employee and for female employee, it will be populating. But gender field itself will be holding male and female. But employee, there is no difference. Only one value is sitting that employee. When you create a report, that employee will be used as a kind of, single instance. But for multi-instance field, you can see the report fields as if you wanted to understand more report fields. that value will be holding multiple values. Employee type is nothing, but I know condition worker or employee. See here, single instance, when you see this thing, which is nothing but multi-instance benefit plan, when employee can have multiple benefit plans and they know when he's enrolling in any benefit plan. Healthcare, medical plan, anything an employee can have. In the scenario getting into multi-instance, and there could be a kind of single instance also for one for time. Based on the plan, it can be possible that I know that the organization will be holding only one benefit plan and no other benefit plan. In that case, you'll be using single instance. But if there are multiple benefit plans and you wanted to return only one value from that multi-instance field, that's where you'll be writing a condition when benefit plan is healthcare. And you'll be writing a condition when healthcare, when plan is equal to healthcare, and you'll be using this condition, in extract multi-instance and multi-instance from that multi-instance. It will be looking the condition and returning that specific benefit plan. Similarly, single instance also. State for multi-instance is nothing but which will be holding multiple values, and single instance is nothing but in a single column. When you are reporting the values in a single report, that particular column will be reporting into will be reported as a kind of column with multiple values. There is no order to do some kind of enhancement that it has to populate only one value, and it has to not populate these values. Then again, that's a kind of different conditions. You'll be writing and use that single instance to return that one accordingly, have that report to be enhanced. You see, to create one, calculate in any of the report that is already there. I think we have created workers simply. Suppose This report will only pull up active employees' details or inactive as well. No, we have selected only data source. All workers are not filtered anything. It will pull everything. We will pull inactive retirees, terminated contingent worker, anything in it. Because we are not using any filter, you need to filter. When I select active status, it will be asking you a kind of checkbox. When I check, that checkbox active will be coming. When I uncheck, all the values will be coming. Now we have around 800 records which they may be terminated also. Now we'll do one small calculation here on the values. Now full name is there. We'll try to get, we use format text option to get into a defined format. And we'll do one date format. We'll do one substring also to see how it works. Substring. What we'll do is we'll try to get first character of first name in it. We'll try to get that. And the higher date. We'll try to change the format date kind of value. I need to go to the RPD calc field. You need to select the business object where your report is sitting and where the data is sitting in. What is the field that we use here? Full name. Here we have an option lowercase, propercase and uppercase. And we're selecting uppercase. I'll be just keeping it. I'll attach it once. The other one is substring. CF substring first name function, substring full name first position. Text field full name. We selected worker. Worker because the report is an worker on all the data sitting on worker. That is the reason why I selected. If you're using different data source with different business object and you need to choose that object. If you are using, employee business object. If you are creating calculated field in worker business object, that may not work. If you need to again do a lookup in order to get from employee to worker. You need to use that respective object, when you're using calculated fields. Fix your function. Set position. My last one is format date. What is the date here? I'll date now. I'll date. We have day, month and year. We'll change year, month and date. You have an option to define how you want. Now we wanted to have a year, month and day. There's the format without any kind of hyphens, without any kind of backslash. I'm giving the format. We'll see how it comes. Now I have created multiple calculated fields. Now I have this attached to the report. Now we'll run the report. We have created calculated fields and we'll add it to the report. Now we can see the format of, we have an uppercase. Everything has got converted to uppercase and a substring. What we have done is the first, from second character. It has to return the value and first character. The first time should go, did a substring function there. And hence all the first character of first data has gone here. And the data, you can see the format that we have defined here. Date, whatever the format that we have defined here, MMDD has come here, which is the first character. First character of the name. First character of first name has gone. If you see here, Logan McNeil L has gone. Steve, S has gone, O has gone and M has gone. What we have written when we are creating the substring function is from second character, from second position of the field. You can, consider that field. We have written a kind of function in that way. From second character, it will be reading the data, and first character will be truncating. For the position that we have taken is from second position to read the data. There is a reason why. From the I know, the field that we have chosen is full name, and from full name we have selected the position called. We have selected 2 as a position, and I know I've given forward direction. And from there it has taken from second character. It is reading the data. If you go backward direction, it will just take. That's it from forward direction. It is taking this one. Let's say if I edit that calculated field again, I'll show how to edit that. Create. Select this one. We have selected here position 1, position 2, and there is a reason why it is reading from 2. Whatever, if you wanted to do some kind of delimiters between that, let's say from space. You know you wanted to have the value to be populated. Space is there. After first time there is a space, and then second name is starting delimiter. You can select before a delimiter. And what is a delimiter? A delimiter is a space, single space. And now direction. Which direction that you wanted to have, backward or forward. Let's say if I take backward, and now if I run the report. I got this one, and if I change the direction to forward, it will take the second name, second name. That's how you play around with the calc fields. But remember, calculated fields are nothing, but you're creating an existing field. You're not creating any new field in Workday, and you're playing around with it. You're creating calculated field based on the delivered field or based on existing calculated field. That's it. There is the thing that you need to know. That's kind of what we have for calculated fields. A lot of functions are there, but everything you know, whatever we have done in similar way, you know you need to check that, select the data, and do according to function that you have chosen. Substant will be breaking the value from where you wanted to break the value, or which character that you wanted to break, that you needed to formatting. What format that you wanted to choose. Lookup, say you'll select the field that you wanted to do from where you wanted to pull this value kind of information that you'll be. Everything will be based on the function. Not complex, but I can say not easy also. If you're having good hands-on with reporting, you'll be able to manage. You know where this calculated field needs to be used and how this function needs to be defined. And all you know, you'll be able to understand. If you're getting opposite to create reports, then create first report and then in a jump on the calculated field. And based on the business requirements, you can pick that particular value and select the data. That's it. And community will be a kind of best support for you. And if you're not aware of using how to use the calculated field, you can just get to community and just use the function name. That's it in the search bar. It will be written a lot of force. You know people who have tried with that, failed with that, and people who will be giving a defined steps, to write that calculated field, and what they will be having its own document. For all the calculated field, you can use that thing. Community will be a kind of best source for you to get additional information. Use that community support. Once you have defined knowledge, getting reports and creating that field, and to explore more and to have some kind of examples. You can use the community as a kind of best source for examples. Thank you. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.